This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035 is worldwide toll-free. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. With the new immigration bill that has just been passed, I thought that we should invite our in-house criminologist, Dr. William Schneid, to join us this hour. Dr. Schneid has been actively involved in the field of law enforcement for over 40 years. His assignments included Internal Affairs Narcotics Task Force, as well as patrol and investigative duties. He has taught at the Rio Hondo Regional Police Academy on survival ethics and officer survival and ethics. He has consulted with and been assigned to various federal agencies and task forces during the past 40 years. He's been routinely appointed by Los Angeles County Superior and Municipal Court judges as an expert in alternative sentencing and narcotics. Presently, he is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed international private investigations firm in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. His website is www.worldfind.biz. And Dr. Schneid, welcome back to the X-Zone. How are you, sir?
Fine, thanks, Rob.
Listen, Bill, the new immigration law that was just passed a couple of days ago, how is it being received by the members of law enforcement that you've talked to?
Well, it's being received certainly positively in the sense that it's a $600 million bill designed to beef up security on the border with Mexico, and as such, it's going to be augmented with 1,500 Border Patrol agents, which will be funded. And, there's just a rare display of bipartisanship by both the Republicans and the Democrats, which, again, shows you what a hot topic immigration is.
Do you think that this bill will provide the safety and security that so many Americans are looking for when it comes to the Mexican-Canadian border, Mexican-U.S. border?
No, I think it's more designed because of the spillover that we're feeling along the border from the Mexican drug cartel war, which so far has claimed 20,000 victims in Mexico. And since a lot of this killings are occurring right on the borderline, I think it's more designed as a proactive thing by the administration against that threat rather than the ongoing issue of illegal immigrants.
Now, the National Guard that is going to be going down to the border, they have no law enforcement authority, do they?
Well, they will be working in conjunction with the Border Patrol, and they're since there isn't military law established, they really aren't going to be taking enforcement action, but rather supplementing the existing Border Patrol, immigration, customs folks that are in place at the moment.
So if a customs agent who is a law enforcement officer asks the National Guard to do something, are they basically working under the same adage as, you're working under a direct order from a peace officer, therefore it gives you the right to act?
Well, you're talking about posse comitatus, which, I think it's a stretch to say that they would then be, kind of deputized for the purpose of doing an arrest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to view them as a armed presence to supplement sworn personnel that are there to make arrests. I don't think we're going to see National Guardsmen making arrests.
Bill, stand by. You and I have to take our first commercial break. X-Zone Nation, Dr. William Schneid is our special guest. www.worldfind.biz. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
X-Zone Nation, it's one of those days. I was just telling Bill a few seconds ago, technology is great when it works. Hey, but we're here. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and X-Zone TV. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Bill, we're talking about the new immigration bill that was passed a couple of days ago. We've got all this money being poured into the border between the United States and Mexico. We've got the National Guard going down there who are going to be armed. But if they do not have law enforcement authority, how can the government send down the National Guard to work with the Border Patrol and have them armed? God forbid, what happens if somebody gets shot and killed by a guardsman?
Well, that of course is another story. But I think they're also going to be controlling. There was two unmanned drones that were added to that mix to help on border surveillance. But I don't know that we have seen any actual codification as to what the Guard will be permitted to do, ordered to do, supplemented to do, other than 1,500 bodies will be added to the mix, but exactly what the parameters surrounding their behavior will be, I haven't seen anything published yet.
So why wouldn't the government then deputize these people and, give them law enforcement status if they're going to be working as law enforcement agents?
Well, they can't just deputize people, especially the National Guard. They can do that if martial law is declared, but they're not going to declare martial law against, the border. That being said, there's really nothing else that we can do with our armed services that will give them what you're asking, and that's police powers.
You see, up here in Canada, the criminal code states any person can arrest without a warrant a person whom he finds committing an indictable offense. Which means if I see you committing an indictable offense, I then can arrest under this section of the criminal code and use any and all force necessary to detain you until law enforcement arrives on the scene, at which time custody is remanded over to law enforcement.
Well, you're talking about, I think, what our country would refer to as a citizen's arrest.
Exactly.
And yes, the Guard, just as citizens, would have that. The biggest difference between law enforcement and civilians as far as arrest powers go is that a civilian cannot make an arrest on suspicion.
That's right.
Where law enforcement can. And also a misdemeanor not committed in their presence would create an additional problem. But I think your point earlier as to, what would happen if there's a struggle between a border patrolman and a illegal entrant, and the guardman shoots him, what would happen in that case? And I suppose, it would be handled as any shooting case, but it would again stir up the coalitions that are indicating that we're pinpointing Mexican illegal immigrants, of which, by the way, they're trying to get that out of this bill because it becomes confusing if you want bipartisanship, and yet you don't want to deal with the 11 million that are here and the whole issue of amnesty, for these folks, and what are we going to do with them? So it needs to really be a separate issue as to, okay, the illegal immigrants that are here, that's a different issue that we're going to deal with. Border security as it is today, that's an issue. But, Obama hasn't separated those two yet.
If the Patriot Act isn't working as far as, or let me rephrase that. If the border control situation is not working with the illegal entry of people from the Mexican-U.S. border, how do we know that the entire system is working when it comes to keeping terrorists out of the U.S.?
Well, we've indicated this in prior shows that the presumption is that the terrorists are already here. I don't think there's a shortage of terrorists that, suddenly we need, a few hundred more in order to accomplish whatever it is their mission is. So we'll go on the presumption that those terrorists that are supposed to be here are here. And as you read about these things in the paper, where these different cells are broken up, these are people that have been here 8-10 years. These aren't people that just crossed the border yesterday. So, and terrorists, for the most part, are very well aware that our borders are being more and more secured. So it's always been to their advantage to get in here. This is almost analogous to the issue of gun control. I mean, those that want guns that know they have until January 1st before some legislation takes place are going to buy the guns ahead of time. And so that doesn't become an issue. And I think we're facing the same thing here is what are we going to do with 11 million people? And similarly, what are we going to do with people caught crossing this border? We still do not have a sufficient deterrent to keep people from coming across our border and then politely being bussed back.
So as a member of law enforcement, what would you or what do other members of law enforcement believe, Bill, would be the deterrent?
The deterrent is either incarcerating these people, for which, again, this is going to be a huge burden on taxpayers, or targeting the employer of these folks, which is probably the most benign thing and most effective. If the fines are sufficient to force employers not to hire illegal immigrants, then the illegal immigrants have no place to work, hence the advantage or the carrot that's placed in front of them is now gone. Because the only other alternative you have, other than heavily penalizing employers, is shooting people that are coming across the border, and we're not going to do that.
Then why do we have the National Guard down there armed?
Because there has to be some form of patrol presence to cherry pick, if you will, those that are trying to come across. It's like, why did we build the wall? That's not to say people can't come over it, around it, under it. It's just as another deterrent. Nobody feels that with $600 million, we're automatically going to stop the stem of illegal immigrants. This is just another finger in the multiple holes in the dike. So it is not going to stop it. Hopefully it'll slow it down somewhat, but I strongly doubt that 1,500 agents along our vast border is really going to stop it.
So why doesn't the U.S. government seek sanctions against the Mexican government in order to make them smarten up? Because it seems that the problem of the mass immigration into the United States from Mexico is because of the Mexican government itself and their inability to run a country.
Well, their inability, has been acknowledged for years. There is, vast corruption all the way up to, I imagine, the president of the country, and it's a way of life. You have a country that only has two classes, either poor or rich. So there is no middle class. So the very attempt to try to get Mexico to cooperate is counterproductive to Mexico, because they're fully aware that the vast majority of illegal folks in this country are sending American dollars back to their families in Mexico. So the money is being spent in Mexico, not in the United States. So there is no advantage.
But there has to be something that can be done. It seems that when you look at the country of Mexico compared to the United States of America, that this problem should be taken care of somehow. And like you say, without any deterrent value, all they're going to keep on doing is coming back.
Well, we already have companies, corporations, large, recognizable ones, right across the border that are making automotive parts and all kinds of machinery that are made in Mexico. Why? Because, one, it's immediately across the border. Secondly, it's cheap labor. You're not going to get American workers, let alone American union workers, to work for the kind of wages that poverty has driven the Mexican worker to be willing to accept. So you're talking a fraction of the dollar and a matter of a mile or two across the border. So companies would be stupid to say, no, we insist on paying more money, which increases the price of their goods to the consumer in the United States when they can get it right there. If they're going to get it from China, that's a long haul. But, right here, you've got endless lines of trucks every morning at the border crossings bringing all kinds of goods that were manufactured in Mexico under cheap Mexican labor.
Stand by, Bill. You and I have to take our commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Exonation Dr. William Schneid is our special guest. www.worldfind.biz. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues. Live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And now we're live at www.xzonetv.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Exonation, Dr. Bill Schneid is our special guest. www.worldfind.biz. Bill, this disaster in Pakistan. The Canadian government is giving $33 million to the people of Pakistan. And as we've seen in the past, we're looking at Haiti, and Haiti hasn't got all the money that governments have pledged yet. There's a lot of concerns whether or not the money actually goes to the government and is distributed to the proper channels. In fact, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said that he's willing to have a civilian board be responsible for handling the money. And I'm just wondering, Bill, if anything happened in the United States or Canada, if Pakistan would throw $33 million our way.
Well, first of all, they don't have it. We'll go along with that. I mean, my viewpoint has consistently been on those countries that are the recipients of foreign aid from us should, at our times of need, supply us with something. It doesn't have to be money. I don't care if it's rice. I don't care if it's workers. I don't care what it is. But there should be some reciprocity, not necessarily, as I said, of a monetary value, but certainly, they certainly have enough people over there that physical labor, would not be, unheard of. And certainly following Katrina, I didn't see any hordes coming from Pakistan to help clean up our messes after our hurricanes. So I have very little, frankly, very little empathy, for these countries who, after a disaster come out begging to the world for funding. I mean, these are countries who are ripe with corruption. We even wonder today how much money is really hitting the Haitians that are in need. And, at what level are they rebuilding? And, there's hundreds of components that are going on in these areas that are, basically fallacies. And I think it's an insult to countries that have the money for them to be expecting to, basically reinforce their infrastructure because they're incapable of doing that. I mean, you don't see us, again, we're picking interesting countries. Pakistan, on its border with Afghanistan, has a definite role to play politically to the advantage of the United States. You don't see a lot of United States money running into Rwanda, as an example, where they have genocide going on and millions of people being killed. So, because Rwanda doesn't mean anything to us. So we pick and choose some of these places, for political reasons, really not humanitarian reasons. Humanitarian reasons may be on the cover page, but certainly there is a hidden agenda that we're going to then expect something from their government, allowing us to have bases there, allowing us to fly over for military missions, all kinds of other little deals. But, humanitarianism is the cloak. And I just object to it because in the primary analysis, it's my money that's going over there. It's every taxpayer's money in the United States is going over there for these, countries that every single year have some disaster or another facing them. And I always look at that in comparison. Again, we are not, no matter how wealthy we're viewed by the rest of the world, or even how arrogant we're viewed as the rest of the world, we still have people that are homeless. We still have people that are living in trailers after Katrina. So when our messes are, we have people in the South without flushing toilets, without running water in the United States. So as long as this kind of poverty exists in this country, who are we to take all of this money and send it out somewhere?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. When I look at $33 million that's being sent to Pakistan with children who are living on the street here in Canada, people who don't have homes, they're not eating food, they need medical aid, like what in the name of heaven are we doing?
Well, I'm sure if you contacted the government of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and said, by the way, we happen to have $33 million, is there anything that you could do with that would improve life in Hamilton? I'm sure they're not going to shrug their shoulders and no, life here is wonderful. I mean, people are in line to get into Hamilton. It's just fabulous. Yes, I'm cynical, I'm bitter about it, and I'm annoyed on countries who choose to benefit the corruption in these two-bit little lousy countries at the expense of the taxpayers of their own country.
Bill, you brought up a wonderful point during the news break about Katrina and rebuilding it the way it was before. It's let's try and see if we can outwit Mother Nature again.
Well, see, that's our own stupidity. I mean, New Orleans should have been made into a park. Mm-hmm. And, if another hurricane comes, so you lose the park. But to basically go to war on a gamble with Mother Nature and say, okay, let's rebuild this city underwater again, and with the idea that there will never be the ultimate storm that comes over here and washes over the dikes and once again washes out New Orleans. So our Corps of Engineers and our politicians that came in and said, no, let's rebuild this thing underwater, are again a bunch of idiots. We will at some point in time, maybe not in our lifetime, see that perfect storm that comes in and washes over those dikes and washes away that city, and everybody will sit there and say, wow, 50 years ago we said this was going to happen.
Speaking about the city of New Orleans, its police department is certainly getting a scrutiny check these days, isn't it?
Well, I mean, we've got more corruption going on than we can shake a stick at. We have a jerkwater city, in L.A. County called the City of Bell, and there's 40,000 poor Mexicans living in there, and other minorities that, barely eke out a living. And the Los Angeles Times exposed the city government for just outrageous salaries.
Oh, right. I mean, this is where the chief of police.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. This is where the city manager or the mayor was making nearly $500,000 a year.
The city manager was making, I think, around $700,000. And with 6 months of paid vacation, including sick time, including retirement benefits, and all of the little perks, it came to $1.5 million. The chief of police of this little itty-bitty city was making almost $750,000, which was more than twice the pay of the chief of police of the city of Los Angeles. So yes, we've got all of our government agencies now investigating these people, because really the voters, and I'm not insulting the voters of the city of Bell, but the voters of most communities really have no clue what everybody's getting paid, what their little perks are and retirement benefits and everything else, yet it's just coming out of their property taxes. But we just, we're just simply uninformed. And if it isn't for the media exposing it, the city of Bell would have never, would have just kept going on business as usual. Their city councilmen were making $100,000 a year, sitting on some committees that met for less than a minute a month.
It's a great job if you can get it.
Outrageous. These people should all be hauled off, and thrown in prison. Ridiculous.
Do you think they will get any prison time? Do you think it'll ever come?
The irony is they may well not, because the question boils down to, okay, they got paid outrageous sums of money, but does that mean what they did was illegal? It may be immoral, it may be unethical, but whether it's illegal or not, that's another issue, and that's being viewed on by our Attorney General as well as the District Attorney of the County of Los Angeles, and other government agencies are investigating to see, is there any illegality going on, or was there voter manipulation? Because apparently the police department was getting all kinds of people to sign absentee ballots and telling them how to vote. So if any of this stuff proves out, there very well may be people going to jail. But at the moment, even the retirement issue may well be something that the city and other cities who contribute to this retirement fund get stuck with simply because it was obscene but not illegal.
It never stops. It never stops.
I look at politics from maybe a very jaundiced eye. I can never understand why anybody would want to spend millions of dollars to try to get a job that pays a fraction of that. And you and I both know, however noble that person's intentions may be, you and I both know that senior politicians are going to tell this junior politician, if you want anything to get out of committee, you better vote for my little dam project in my town. And so no matter how grandiose their motives are, they're going to have to go along with the old boys club or they'll never get anything passed.
Dr. William Schneid is our special guest to this hour. Exonation, www.worldfind.biz is his website. And something else, Bill, I wanted to touch on today is that apparently there are politicians in the United States who do not agree with the fact that just because a child is born in the United States, they automatically get American citizenship.
Well, that's true. I mean, we have that policy as well as the anchor family policy that, if the kid's born in the United States and is automatically a citizen, well, what about the family then? And under the anchor thinking, they should also become citizens. So, again, this is just a hot potato. The whole way that we have viewed immigration or ignored immigration issues in the past are now being brought in the forefront. Just because somebody, pops a baby out, this whole philosophy was years ago in which, families that legally immigrated into this country, it was allowed, if their child is born here, they were automatically a citizen. But, there was no way that it was intended. The legislative intent was not to make illegal citizens' offspring instant citizens.
So where did the system go wrong?
Probably, in the sense that government has become so huge and so monopolistic that the average person is just, simply clueless as to what goes on at any level. I mean, you could spend a lifetime, studying it. I mean, yes, we have the advantage now of YouTube and the television debates and all kinds of things that come on, but still, the average person is ignorant when it comes to the news of the day. They don't read newspapers. They just don't get involved with politics, and hence this kind of stuff goes by the wayside. And these people are allowed to pass bills or legislation that has been passed is allowed to wallow around and do its thing because really nobody cares.
Then this weekend when President Obama made what the media is calling a major foobar, when he apparently said that he didn't see anything wrong with having the mosque in New York City just blocks away from the site of 9/11.
Well, I don't know that he's wrong. I mean, this isn't like saying the mosque is going to be, right on the site of 9/11. I mean, a few blocks away. We're a nation founded in freedom of religion.
Yes.
And I think that was the president's point. Is people are because a few hijackers happen to be Muslims, and there's a number of terrorists that happen to have Muslim thinking. The vast majority of Muslims are still middle of the road, peace-loving folks. So even though it conjures up all kinds of negativity having to do with 9/11 or any other event, we can't be that kind of a country where our insensitivity overwhelms our constitutional rights.
Bill, we've got to take our final break, but I agree with you 100% on that. Exonation, Dr. William Schneid is our special guest, www.worldfind.biz, and we'll be back on the other side of this break as we do our final wrap-up for tonight, Monday, August the 16th, 2010. My name is Rob McConnell. You're listening to The X Zone. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Well, X Zone Nation, I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking everyone for joining us here in the X Zone tonight, especially my guest this hour, Dr. William Schneid. And his website is www.worldfind.biz. Let me see, Bill, is there anything else I know what I want to talk to you about, that That man in, where was it, Chicago, who stabbed 16 people just to find out he was wanted back in Israel for charges as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, Israel, his idea to get back to Israel was on the thought that being of Jewish descent, that Israel doesn't extradite people. They do under certain circumstances, murder being one of them. So his hope to escape extradition or being tried failed. And then on a plus side, we had the Craigslist murderer kill himself in a cell. So that suicide eliminated the taxpayers having to pay to try the guy.
I guess checks and balances work out equally.
Payback is a bitch, and karma does exist.
What are you and I going to be talking about the next time you join us, bud?
Well, who knows? I mean, every time we open up the newspaper, we have something interesting to talk about. And, you and I hinted about the, alleged possible counterfeiting of your Haven coffee, Tim Hortons.
Oh, quickly.
So that may be something that we taste.
Quickly, we've got about a minute left. Tell our listeners about this.
Well, according to a couple of managers at Tim Hortons, the coffee that they actually sell to the public in fine ground form is not actually the same coffee that they sell to be consumed on the premises. And the reason being that they don't want you to have the exact same one so that you keep coming back for that coffee. So allegedly the, shall we say, counterfeit version of the coffee poured at Hortons isn't the same one that you're taking as a ground coffee to be made at home. More to be revealed. All right, Bill, let our listeners know how they can find out more about you, my friend. Go to our website, www.worldfind.biz, and you all have a happy and safe time. Bill, it's always great talking to you. Thank you very much for sharing your day with us here in the X Zone. My pleasure. Exo Nation, Dr. William Schneid, once again, his website is www.worldfind.biz. Well, that's it for tonight, Exo Nation. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your day or night, no matter where you are on this great big world of ours. To my producers and to all the affiliates around the world, thank you for being part of the X Zone family. So until tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, as once again we cross this time-space continuum to the place that I call the X Zone. Remember, take care of each other if you can. We are our brother's keeper. And if you have a child at home, give them a hug, give them a kiss, let them know that they are loved, because the children of today are the leaders of tomorrow. And always, Exo Nation, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.